co-host of Fox and Friends. First, you wake up with her, Ainsley Earhart, political commentator and national spokesman for the LIBRE initiative. Rachel Campos-Duffy is back, host of the brand new show. If you haven't seen it, you need to. It's called Kennedy on our sister network, Kennedy's Here. And today's hashtag, one lucky guy, Dr. Keith Aplow. The doctor is in, and he's outnumbered.
Ah, I feel
that is my prescription.
But I welcome it.
You like it?
I like it. In fact, it's a challenge now for me anywhere else. I feel less at home than in the middle of this semicircle.
Now, Dr. Aplow, are you analyzing us at all when you're
hanging out? I can't turn it on and off like a faucet. It's interesting. I sometimes have to say I'm not following that thread. We were talking about this even before the show. But it's hard to turn it off. I hear things, you know, after 20 years of doing this. You hear things, and you think, well, should I comment on that?
Shouldn't voices?
I was going to say voices.
It's a little bit like that.
All right, so we'll do analysis during Outnumbered Overtime.
I even think, like, I sat down on the couch, I said, did we unconsciously coordinate our outfits today? I thought that. I sat down and said, are we
That's cute. As if he wasn't
that
in my
much in
20
tune?
minutes ago at this time.
What's the energy like?
All right, I have a prediction. This is the only thing you two will agree on is your color scheme.
I don't know.
We begin with fierce new reaction to how the Obama administration is handling that mass beheading of ISIS, or 21 Egyptian Coptic Christians by ISIS, I should say. This as day 3 as a White House summit gets underway, countering what the administration calls violent extremism. ISIS releasing the video of those beheadings on Sunday. The White House also issuing a statement saying, quote, the United States condemns the despicable and cowardly murder of 21 Egyptian citizens in Libya by ISIS-affiliated terrorists. That's right. Citizens. The administration, for some reason, does not call them Christians and refers to the Islamic fighters as, quote, ISIS-affiliated terrorists, omissions that sparked this reaction from Fox News contributors George Will and Charles Krauthammer.
At this point, it's beyond burlesque. It's pathological. It's clinical. Their inability and unwillingness to accurately describe things. The secret of decent, strong communication is specificity.
This is a genocidal movement. You kill Christians, you kill Jews, you kill Yazidis, but you may, in certain circumstances, enslave them. That's what we are up against, and we have an administration that will not even admit that there's a religious basis underlying what's going on.
Even Pope Francis is claiming the men were executed over their religious beliefs, asking his followers to pray for those, quote, whose throats were slit for the sole reason of being Christian. Okay, I want to go to you first, Dr. Aplow. The bite of George Will that we just played, where he called it clinical. What was the first thought that came to your head on that?
Well, the first thought that came to my head is better he say it than I say it, because I get so much heat when I say that the president has something about his way of being that's deeply rooted inside him that does not sit well with this country and with the notion of joining forces for autonomy and freedom and identifying real threats for what they are. There's something deeply ingrained in our president that can't embrace America as a force for good in the world, as a leader for good. And I've said it again and again, and now it's coming home to roost.
Dr. Aplow, is that, okay, some people have said that the president is delusional, that he doesn't understand the threat. But for your analysis to be correct, he understands the threat, but something's preventing him from identifying it. And is it his childhood? And again, I go back to that Cairo speech, where if he just doesn't acknowledge the threat, and he takes his mind back to where he was as a child when he remembers a peaceful Islam, the threat won't exist if he doesn't acknowledge it.
It's that he's balancing threats, and to the President of the United States, I believe that the United States of America is the bigger threat. That he sees that our focus on autonomy, our desire to spread our ideas around the world, has been a great plague, and he's really not up for the idea of saying, I'm with these guys against them, because he sees them as people who have been put upon. That's where this whole notion comes from. Build their economies, get them jobs, and then they'll like us again. No, they won't like us again. They're fundamentally, in a fundamentalist way, opposed to our very existence.
I'm glad you brought up unemployment and jobs, because a lot of people are talking today about how Marie Harf, the spokeswoman for the U.S. State Department, blamed part of this problem on the fact that the terrorists don't have jobs. Listen to this.
We cannot win this war by killing them. We cannot kill our way out of this war. We need, in the longer term, medium and longer term, to go after the root causes that leads people to join these groups, whether it's lack of opportunity for jobs. We can work with countries around the world to help improve their governance. We can help them build their economy.
Okay, it's a jobs problem. Any shovel-ready jobs, Kennedy?
Okay, there are two jobs problems. There's job problems in this country. This is where people need jobs. This is where people need focus on the economy. That's completely misplacing the focus, number one. Number two, those Coptic Christians were going to Libya, where they knew there were terrorists and strife, because they couldn't get jobs because of religious persecution in Egypt. And, you know, these were poor, younger men who went over to find a better way of life in a very dangerous place, looking for work because they needed jobs. And that's what they were doing. So that's a misguided image.
And ISIS is not hurting for money, Andrea. ISIS is, you know, the black market on oil. They're making up to $3 million a day on selling oil in the black market. So they're not hurting for jobs. It's not about jobs. It's not about poor families. I was proud of Chris Matthews for actually going up against her when she gave that answer, because he pushed back. And he said, we're going to be dealing with poor families and jobs for the rest of eternity, or until eternity. And so I was glad that he at least stood up.
I mean, Rachel, that excuse, I mean, there's so many things wrong with what she said, that we're supposed to go fix their problems. And historically, take Hamas as an example. I mean, Hamas doesn't want to work. I mean, these are terrorist organizations that could go out and get jobs, and they don't. They just perpetuate this cycle of terrorism. So what was the State Department trying to say?
Well, first of all, to be fair, remember the Bush administration did used to say that the part of the problem was endemic to the economy and lack of opportunity for young people in the Middle East. So that narrative was started, I believe, under the Bush administration. I think what we're seeing now is that this Islamic cult or theology that ISIS has is metastasized. And I think it's really wrong for us to focus on that. And I think, you know, finally the Pope has come out and called this what it is. And let's remember, he's not very bellicose. There are Christians, Catholics like myself, who have been waiting for the Pope to actually call out. But the persecution of Christians has been going on for several years, and we have been knowing about this and waiting for him to say something.
Yeah.
Why can't this administration just say the truth?
And I think when you said malignancy, that seems very apt, because a physician may think of lots of factors that led to the development of a malignancy, but once there's one, you got to treat it, and that might mean surgery, which means we have to go and stop these people, frankly, by killing them. Not an attractive thing to do, no joy in it. But a surgeon will tell you, look, if we've got to take off the leg, we're not going to talk about nutrition right now.
Yeah, but exactly. Or the surgeon has to treat it and not the architect. And we are not the surgeons in this case. You know,
well,
we are not the oncologists. Well, not for jobs, not when you're talking about the economy.
Right. No, I would say the surgery is to remove these folks from existence, because frankly, it's as simple as this. If someone wants to kill my children and that's their intent, I'm going to go kill them. That's it.
Right.
That's the arithmetic.
Well, to her point, I mean, she said we can't just kill them alone. There's other things that we can do, right? We can bomb their oil fields. We can start to hurt them and cripple them economically. But this whole theory about words. So the Pope weighed in on this, Ainsley. We've seen others weigh in on this. And you also hear people say, well, if more imams and people from the moderate Muslim community would speak out against it, it would solve it. I don't believe that this problem can be fixed by words or a PR campaign.
Right. It's just like if you have a problem with your child or a problem in your relationship, you've got to find out the root of that problem. Well, we've got to find out what is the root, what's causing them to do this. It's religion. And I feel like our president is not saying that. I don't know if he's scared that he's going to antagonize Muslims, the moderate Muslims, but he's got to go to the root of this problem if we want to try to win this war. And if it is about religion, is there any way, I mean, do we go in and just kill them? Because you can't change their minds.
I think what's scary
you can't change their minds.
What's scary is now we're hearing that part of the president's quote-unquote strategy, if you want to call it that, is a Twitter war, not a real war. I mean, there's this whole social media campaign that they want to talk about. I'm so confused. I have little kids who have, you know, they watch the news, they see ISIS, and they go, why don't we just kill them? And, you know, it seems like even little kids get that.
Can I bring what Rachel was saying when she's talking about the social media campaign, Kennedy. One of the things that the White House said that they would be doing to fight back on this is using Twitter. And this is a White House that had the hashtag, you know, bring our girls home, which again I thought was well-intentioned but doesn't really matter. And we found out ISIS and terrorist organizations are putting out roughly 90,000 tweets per day. So, which is pretty startling to see the way they're using social media. And that's not even the way to fix it, is use social media to combat ISIS.
Well, I mean, I think anyone logically has to see that ISIS is succeeding where other terror groups haven't, because they've moved into the 21st century. And that's fine if the State Department, the White House want to coordinate their social media. I don't have a problem with that. You know, I think that's probably a good idea. If that's how people are getting their information and you want to change their minds, that's a strategy. But I don't know if that should be the focus. When you've got ISIS 5 miles from a Marine base in Iraq, you know, do we really need to be talking about Snapchat?
And, you know, one thing about these extremists, these terrorists, is that they're not confused, right? We're a little confused about our Facebook profiles, our real selves. Should we fight this with Twitter? Should we put boots on the ground? They're not confused. They may be using social media to advance the beheadings, right? And their cause of taking over the world. But they're not confused whether that's a real war. The real war is when they get their knives out, and they're just using the Twitter as a little appetizer. We're confused, but we always had an internet president. We had a Facebook president who's comfortable on the cover of men's fashion magazines and on couches of late-night TV, right? He's more that. He's a star. He's not a president.
Are we normal or are we nuts, Dr. Abloh? Because we seem to have this discussion all the time on this couch to bring up the Fox and Friends phrase. But we keep asking ourselves, when will the White House do this? When will the White House say Islam? When will the White House wake up to the threat? When will the White House start to fight back? I mean, and Ainsley, today the question is, why won't the White House say the word Christian? I mean, we're asking the same question over and over, which I think Dr. Abloh can help me out on this, but is this the definition of insanity? Are we nuts?
Did you hear Ben Carson today was on, I think, with Bill Hemmer earlier today, and he was saying if he were president, he would have boots on the ground. He would be enforcing sanctions.
He's a surgeon.
Exactly. But he said it was like 5 or 6 different things he said he would be doing.
Okay, but can we just put this up to a logical test pretty quickly? Because you know, if you have radical Muslims who are targeting Jews and Christians in Europe and in the Middle East, and there's not a lot of moral outrage from the White House, you know, look at the converse. If you had Christians who were targeting Muslims and Jews, I think you would have a very different reaction.
100%.
And you know, I think that logical test is one that the president is failing.
But I just want to say, I think that, you know, he came into office saying that he wanted to fundamentally transform America. I think there's no doubt right now that he is fundamentally transforming the Middle East by negligence or intentional negligence.
Well, and very quickly, Dr. Abloh, I think Kennedy's point's a good one, because I think the electorate gets it, the American public gets it, that this is a president who has had the Muslim Brotherhood, where this all, with terrorism's birthplace, with the Muslim Brotherhood, to the White House, to the State Department, front row at his Cairo speech. He can invoke religion, and he can play favorites when he wants to.
It would now be delusional. We would be a little crazy to be thinking that it's not intentional negligence. That's a profound thing to believe, by the way. If you believe that the president is intentionally empowering our adversaries, that's a very weighty moment.
And more than weighty, I'd say scary. The president's executive orders on immigration now put on hold, just hours before the first part was to take effect. And now the White House is responding to a federal ruling that gives dozens of states times to permanently stop the president's plan. Plus, where President ranks among his 43 predecessors, and why scholars are calling him, quote, overrated. And right after the show, catch more from the couch on the web. You don't have to go to therapy. We're going to bring it to you. Just log on to foxnews.com/outnumbered. Click the Overtime tab. You can lay down on your couch and send questions to our couch.
Perfect.